On the 1 minute term time frame amongst NEO crossed against BTC, we've seen this go from about 1450 Satoshi. 1946 minutes right now, and it's 1488. Up about 40 basis points. That's not quite 3%. But nice, most certainly. A nice up move. Now on the 5 minute term, let's just put a horizontal ray at this resistance that has been fought so many times. And even a little bit lower one. This is not time number 3. So we'll see if this move, if it can get out above that level. But this is going to be a pretty big situation. When we go even further, let's just go right to the 3. And I guess I'm going to remove this lower one in here because, well, let's just place it here. And that was the first time where it resisted it. So what did we do after the fact? Well, it held and stayed above the 18 on this term time frame. Got above that. Got above it, supporting it just very short in time. And one significant move, and this has been now a significant sideways correction. Okay, all bets, trades, and of the like. That's within each his own risk and their own reward. Go over a few of these coins, and I'll even go over Bitcoin. I haven't really looked at it today though, so it's gonna be raw analysis on that. Earlier it was down like 1% and change. That's all I know. All right, so on this daily time frame, already you've met up with this previous level of where we came from, and now the statement of this is, oh, it's breaking out. So to me, I've said this so many times. This is not a fun sell spot. This is, I guess, for trading, fun buy spots. But like I've said so many times, and I haven't said it too much, I'm going to say it now. If you buy here, this is what usually it happens. You're going to be well extended. We are right above the 18 in here. Do I really want to buy here, knowing that it could very easily, on a bullish level, come back here? I don't know. But the theory is, if you see a market's going to go to a point destination, well, we've just now got statement that it's going to do that. The next place I'd have to think is at least, 17, 18 minimum. And when I look at this level of support in here, I got to think it break over 2,000. And it stands right now at a price of 1488. So we're looking at well over 30%. We'll see if it happens, but it's just made that statement. Let's move on to Tezos. It's been kind of driving me not really nuts, but the fact that it's 1430 right now I think is pretty okay. On the daily chart, at least on the Binance point of view, and it did not come back to this level. It still might, but as of now it hasn't. It did come down to the 18 average of highs. On the situation I've stated here, if it doesn't work here because it's such a big move, you move to like the 3-day chart, because it's just going to come down here, and coming down here as well below the 18 lows. But that wasn't needed because the excitation of such occurred in today's session. It's 7:49, so it's a new day. We're just 49 minutes into the day right now. But volatility we're going to see here on the single hour term. Yeah. Look at where we were before. Yada yada, just doing all this stuff, just bouncing around on a range of like, percent or between 1% and 2% per move. And then all of this happens. So again, same thing. Are we going to find support on the 18 average of highs when it's well extended? Because this is a spot where, okay, well, 3-hour term, well, let's just see how it supports here. So that's where I would be like thinking, for this move to hold, I want to make sure maybe this time frame lasts. So that's the way I'd look at it from that point. But well, we see this nice little move in here. Let's take a look at the 1 because this is where it gets crazily sick. All right. I wasn't around in here. I was looking to actually sell some about here. I got this crossed against 3 different coins, and I thought, okay, I'll sell one of it against here. Wait, I think it was H bar. And then if it goes up higher, I'll do it against Theta and then against Bitcoin Cash. But this is the day. 1 minute time frame. I made my deposit on a break of right around in here. That's where I made my deposit. It was active somewhere in here. Alrighty then. Maybe I might have made it up in here too. It was But it worked out that I had to wait. So, no go. And I just happened to be, again, not around at this time. So, do I want to take the chance? Because I could just sell a bit right now. I got this little pattern in here. It's got to break to one side or another. But you know what? I'll just let the numbers play. If it fails and this breaks to the downside, that's just a little bit of small move, lost opportunity. Because right now I'd be getting like 8, 7, 9% flips, which to me isn't anything fantastic. Let's next take a look at Mona, which on September the 14th had a low of 93, a high of 18,000. Almost a 2x move. Not quite. Maybe 90% something. From the high, low to the high, that is. And from this low, maybe 100% from this low, yeah. Because this low is 9,000, so 18,106. No, not quite. Nope, almost 98%, 97% from this low, this high. And then there was this one before. And before that, there was this one. I mean, I should be, it's on Bittrex. Don't really do much on there other than ratio trade DGB and GRS. Everything else right now. And then there was this one back in here. And this is now 2017. I mean, I guess you can call these glory days. What a beautiful move this had, going from 28 up to like 34,000. Just yada, yada, yada. I mean, I know Adobe and all these other markets. At intraday, you have these moves that go from like 66 up to 10,000 and just doing its thing. And well, of course, if I trade this against a ratio of something like DGB as one example, this coin is 79. I mean, it hasn't had a real big move since, and this wasn't that fantastic. 243 to 418, and then okay, bigger one here. This is like small ones, but back in here it was like 320 up to like 650, and here 250 to 500. That's just 2x, and you had to get some time to wait to get it. At the start of 2018, it went from like 80 to like 800, so a 10x move. Yeah, okay, because this thing went from like 100 up to like 2,400, so 20-ish plus whatever X. And that was only against Bitcoin, because before that it was just doing stuff like that. The ratio of the two together, DGB and Mona, looks like such. And I'm just going to go to a different time frame, say the weekly. And if you happen to be trading this during that 2017 period, you have this would have went from 162 down to 4, up to 48, then consolidate down to 21, finally break resistance at 52, and ultimately at the start of December of 04, this ratio goes to like 1100, and then back down to like 65, and back up to like 168, and that would have been like February at that time. If we look at Mona against the dollar, it's $1.07 back in here. If you were playing that type of game, even if you got back in here, you got it at 17 cents and you bought DGB at the same time you flipped it. It went down to like 2 cents. You're like, oh my goodness, my portfolio is beep, like SHIT, you know, all that type of stuff. But then you should have been profit taking on the way up when it was 60 cents. But leave yourself enough in case it goes up further, which it did. Same thing here. Profit take in October. Leave yourself enough in case it goes up more. And it did. And profit takes some more. Leave yourself some back in case it goes up. And it doesn't. Oh, but then there was this little rally here. Huh? Did your ratio trade in here? It wasn't as good, and it hasn't been since. I know it hasn't. It's not the same. But it's still profitable, and there's still good opportunities here and there. And DGB pretty much the same. Another way of looking at it is the price of silver against Mona. And DGB is even more extreme, but they're all just as extreme. But if you were playing this game and like any time back here, especially during these really lower prices in here, and you bought into these coins, it would have been, you would have needed 550 of these coins to buy an ounce of silver. And then it got to a point where with your Mona, you could have switched them flat out 1 for 1 almost, or even quite perfectly. You can see this is like 0.78. which meant you could have sold Mona for Bitcoin. You could have bought silver for Bitcoin. And 2 days later, however long it may take, ding dong, then maybe Federal Express or whichever company it is, I need your signature, and you got all those silver. You turn Mona into silver, basically, whatever coins it is that may be. And now then it became more expensive because, well, silver going up, it ain't moving this market, not with the volatility cryptos have. Not right now, anyway. And definitely not in the foreseeable future, which is in 2021. You got to think that cryptos are going to keep the volatility rolling. So the game is the same now, whether it's this coin or whichever one we're looking at. And let's take a look at something like Theta next. And this is, you need 194 Theta right now to buy an ounce of silver. It used to be 346. We've seen it as low as 65. And to think that we could have a big break above or below, cryptos are a very volatile beast, to say the least. But if another bull market in cryptos, like the one occurring in 2017, and it's happened in previous years before, 2015 and then 2013 or whichever those previous years, but anyway, if it happens again, and you start to see Theta prices going up to like 20, 30, 40, 60 cents a dollar, $2, $3. Well, if it's $3 for Theta, and even at $21 for silver, that's a 7-to-1 ratio. If it goes to $1 just that, it would be, well, 20-to-1. So again, 20-to-1 would be down here. And that type of volatility, well, it can occur at any time, I would think. But anyway, I'm just saying that the risk reward could work out to spots where one person has maybe, let's just make it so it's an even 1,000. How much is let's even do 100 ounces of silver. How much is that's $1,000 is what I was thinking in that term, of course. So we'll say a little over $2,000, like, but easily with U.S. prices, you should easily buy 100 ounces of silver for $2,000. That should be very easy, under that even. So one person does that, gets a little over 100 ounces. Another person takes 2,000, gets 0 ounces of silver, buys Bitcoin, then finds ways of trading, whether it's like myself, maybe a couple other altcoins, or 4, or however many they choose. Or they just, whatever method, there's lots of methods of winning in the day trading, whatever ways of possible. And then those great gains come in, and next thing you know, it could be a year, 16 months later, 4 months later, oh, I got this much more silver. You got, how many ounces did you get? You got 100? Well, I've got over 1,000 so far, and I've still got a good crypto balance. Stuff like that can be things that can happen. Now let's move on to Bitcoin and then transition into gold and silver. All right. So to me, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency is definitely not 100% guarantee. I can't say that. Most certainly not. Even if I could be able to want to say it, I still don't want to say it. High probability of success, at least for another leg higher? Yes, I do think so. But not guaranteed. Maybe 60, 70, 80, 90% probable. I gotta think it's closer to 90, but I might be wrong though. And of course, it's either 0 or 100%. There's only going to be one outcome, either yes or no on that event. Will Bitcoin break resistance and go higher? Well, let's take a look at this from multiple time frames. I don't know what the shorter term exactly is going to look like, but at least on the weekly chart, we've come up to this level of resistance. We've been now consolidating since the start of July. First level of support has been resisted. It does look as if we are in a situation where we could be breaking down. If we go down below the 18 average of lows, that is heavy concern for a break of this level because of probability odds would be in place. We'd be looking for a move to the next level. I'd have to think in the low 6,000s is conservative. More aggressive would even be a break of this support, maybe somewhere in the low to mid, even the low 5,000s, 51, 52. And that could still be a higher level. Now, a spot like this, it's like, oh, we're losing on the 18 lows, it's over. Well, you can think that if you want. But when I have a huge move like this and all this empty space, I want to see a little bit of a longer term time frame. So I see the 18 average of lows in at 6,400, which coincides with those levels I talk about. I don't got the Fibonacci numbers here, but still 6,000 is key fib. Yeah, that's the key must hold area. And that's how I've been looking at that more towards. So that's what we're seeing from the weekly and as well the monthly. On the daily term time frame, we have seen this layer of support. After we had this layer, we had this layer of resistance before. We've had this layer since. So from this move reaction, sideways consolidation, failed this breakout attempt. This is the only real one that it had, at least from the time that it hit the 18 of lows. And when this situation in here happened, broke that support, no surprise, you go back to where you came from. And of course, now the consolidation from this down move has been nothing but weak so far. So the benefit of the doubt for the bears or the down move to test somewhat of a lower level, still got a long ways to go to 63, but it's definitely in place. On the 8-hour, we are seeing microscopic volatility. This last period, these 2 periods before were just tiny. This one's just started, just an hour in, and it's actually more volatile than the last two. And it still hasn't had much, nor should it, but it is breaking down. And now we're in a situation in here where, this could be nasty. We could probably see a move of like 5, 6, 7% down. Well, overnight. ASAP, but that's within the 8-hour. 3 hours most certainly giving me the exact same signals. This is very, very weak. In fact, if we take a look at the invert on this just very quickly, we're going to see a very bullish setup. Probably would be one of the percentage gainers. It's the top one. At least on this one. I haven't seen palladium or platinum in a long time. It's there, so see, look, there's that bullish setup. And that's why when you look at the reverse of it, we'll even just take a look at the rest of it this way. Hourly term time frame. This to me looks like it's breaking out. Maybe in here we could still possibly, if this move, we've already came back to this upper area, but this upper area is in the range of like, in this case, 11.6 to like this top area here. So it's like 70% of the way through that range, with the highest bit still not there. But we still, if we're going to have a level, I don't know how much resistance in the Bitcoin case support would be here, but I'd be looking, okay, 11, this area here, do we come back to it, meet up with the 18 lows? And just quickly taking a look at this on the 1 minute, I guess it'd be best to look at maybe the Binance one. There's a lot of breaking down. I might have to react a little bit towards this. Nothing too major though, which is just a small sell for what I consider a move to go down, basically. Let's take a look next at the precious metals for silver, because as I mentioned, long term, the chances that this works out for cryptos, it's good. Now, I guess if it was my job to say what's the percentage chances that silver and gold end up working out, and I want to take a look at this. Let's just take a look at this on the Canadian side, because I haven't done that in a while. What's the chances it works out? And when I define working out, that means that on the long-term time frame, whether it take another 5 years or 25 years, or however long it may be, that the precious metals will not only do well against the dollar, but do well in inflation terms, meaning its ability to buy products of everyday buying, like everyday markets of the world, things you buy and sell. And I gotta think, how close to 100% can I go? Am I allowed to go 100%? If that's the case, how many decimals can I go in the 99.9? I mean, if I could, I wish I could say I could guarantee it. In a sense, I almost think I could. I would like to be able to say I think it's a guarantee that it's one of those plays that would end up working out. Time, again, can only tell. But I do believe this is going to be a moment in history when future generations, however they look back at historical events, that all of the events prior to this that we look at, well, that will remain. And then what happened, like say the Great Depression of 1933, 34, all the 30s, that'll still be talked about in 200 years from now, 100 years from now. But then our movement's here in 2008, and then what happens, whatever year it happens to be, 2020, 2021, whatever year this is, and that these things go on. And we're living in a world of like a fiat bubble, I believe, like a fiat collapse on a global level. How long it takes, we'll see. That's why I'm relatively confident, at least for a leg higher to occur amongst the cryptocurrencies as well. But there's silver. On the monthly chart, it's attempting its second time to restart this bull market. For stage one, bands flattening out. Well, before it was an uptrend. Then it started to curve down. This move here only resisted the lows, and by no means did it even come close to flattening the band. This move would have gotten above the 18 average of closes not shown and almost making it to the highs, but nowhere near enough to stop the decline. But the decline slowed down in here, but it didn't stop. It then had what has been so far the low, and the next move that got up to the 18 average of highs, well, that was the first time it even got there from the time of the decline, at least here against the Canadian fiat. Because the last time it left the 18 highs was here. And technically on here it was close this occasion, but not quite. But it did get up there. And its actions for several months was staying within this band. And that was stage one for the band to flatten out. At this stage, it established its level of resistance here at this 26.5 area, piercing barely above it. And the next stage I'm looking to it is to come back to correctionary mode, which is to me always the 18 average. And it did so here. And how has it reacted since then? Well, do I call this holding and staying within it? I mean, it didn't really break down, not much. It definitely stayed above the two key levels of previous support that it must hold, which was this one and, of course, the one before that. Well, now in this next attempt, after this move to the 18 highs, again, we've had the band flattened, so we could do this whole thing again about, okay, band flat and establish resistance. Now we've got this next step. We're back to the band, so we've had the correctionary phase validate itself on the monthly term because it's already touched the 18 average of highs. 18 average of lows is barely starting to rise. We got a couple weeks left. It's unlikely but possible price action comes down to this level this month. What would be more likely if we're going to have a test of the lows is that either through more time it's going to hit. And that maybe of a little bit of price. And that little bit of price most likely would be closer to 21. But this is going to rise a little bit next month, as that's what it's doing. Newly rising average on it. And it's one of those wait and sees. But for me, again, I know silver's what it is. It's a real, tangible item of real, tangible use in the real world. And even though you don't know how to melt silver, and it's very dangerous and expensive to do so, you don't have to do it. You're not going to do it unless, well, maybe one person watching this video might, probably not. Because you're just going to sell to somebody who might, but maybe you're selling to another investor who knows who you're selling it to. But for you, you'll trade it back and forth as you need to. But for me, silver's in a major accumulation phase. a time will come where pretty much it's not going to matter what if it's Canadian dollars or US dollars I'm talking about, maybe because their dollars will go par again, either still. Maybe US does do better in the breakout. Maybe this goes up to like 400 and in the US terms it's 280. Or I don't know. But either way, those days are, I think, going to be on the horizon. For gold, it has one interesting tangible aspect to it. Its margin is very small. Silver is pretty small too as well. And when I say margin, I mean for the everyday people, at least here in North America anyway, to be able to trade the numbers at. When you buy gold, how much over spot do you spend? And if you sell gold, especially, and that's an interesting one in itself. And if you're interested in holding silver and gold, is there any way you can state, okay, I'm going to be able to buy and sell it profitably, where I can find a way to be able to find people who are selling it so cheap and buy it that way. I have means of being able to sell it and get good numbers, whichever way. I don't know if people working actually profit on eBay or not. I don't know, but I have thought about that in situations. We look at gold in here. It pretty much had inverted head and shoulders pattern, and it's already done its thing. It's already had a move to rate like one target. What do we do after that? Again, though, I think it's 100% that this price in time will break out to some of these key levels. I got 28.10 and 41.82 highlighted. I put them in at some point. It might have been Fibonacci. It probably was. I'm just going to leave them there for now. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.